Okay, we are recording. Welcome to the University Hill Commercial Area Management Commission meeting. It is July 8th, 2025, and I will call roll. Trent Bush.
Here.
Phil Jones.
Here.
Danica Powell. Here. Ted Rockwell.
Here.
Amy Anderson, I do see you online. I'm gonna try to promote you to panelist again. We'll need you to share your screen or your video and your audio while you join us tonight. And then I can take your attendance.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you.
And then can you say you're here?
I'm here.
All right, I will now turn the meeting over to Chair Rockwell for procedural items.
Thank you, Ellie. Our only procedural item today is the approval of the May 25 meeting minutes. I'm assuming we all had time to review that. Does anyone have, I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes as submitted. So see a motion to have a second. I'll take Danica this time. Any discussion about the meeting minutes as presented? No. All of us in favor of approving the minutes as presented, raise your hand. See national passes. All right, we are now at the point of our agenda where we do public participation. Is there anyone online in the public who would like to address the commission? No.
I do not see anyone online.
All right. We will move forward then to the consent agenda. These are not going to be necessarily discussed unless there's questions. As I have questions about consent agenda to present. Or the UJ visitation. Oh, we're just blasting right through this. All right. Seeing none for the UJ visitation report consent agenda, we're going to turn it over to staff for the over.
All right, let's ring in here.
Yeah.
So I see Matt, maybe
I'm
as
gonna fill in for Reed. Matt Shazansky, Senior Manager with the Community Vitality Department, give the update that Jake sent in for the Hill Boulder. First of all, Half-Fast Subs is reopening soon, not sure of an exact date, but he's been in communication with that, so that should be coming up soon. Limelight's still set to open in August. And update on the Roots Music, on the Rise Festival, the live events will be taking place on July 17th and August 21st. So you can help get the word out about that. We can send along to, so you can forward that along. Hill Boulder is also working with the Hill Ambassadors to distribute communication about the 14th Street lot permits. I think Christine will be here to talk about that in a little bit. The last update is that the Hill Boulder's new marketing person has been doing a good job. Keeping the events calendar up to date and driving more foot traffic. So they're looking to continue that work through the end of summer. So that's the updates for the Hill Boulder. And if you have any questions, I can't answer them, but pass them along.
Questions around the Hill Boulder?
The only one I'd like to pass on is the pizza place that was part of it, was where Boss Lady was.
Yeah.
Didn't last very long. It'll be nice to hear. Interesting. Little bit of challenges.
Lost Jake to send out.
Yeah.
That was like 2 weeks ago.
I think so, yeah, we just saw the minutes on. Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious about Allison Roads. They seem to be vacant. Have you seen any activity?
I haven't seen anything. I've seen people on the patio, but they don't look like customers.
Yeah, they did have like Christmas lights on over the weekend, which was very strange. They're like, oh, maybe they're open. So maybe they're just taking us on this solstice side. So in any case, if you could pass that on, we're really curious to hear.
It says closed online. I've been
Does it?
noting that it's been empty for a while. It's been a ton of space.
Some information for you.
Thank you very much. We are now to the matters from staff portion of the agenda. Oh, did we have a question?
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
That's what they did.
never mind.
Oh, no.
Matters from staff. Looks like we got several items here, including Chris Hagelin.
Yeah, not seeing Chris online,
Not either, they confirmed me from today, but
so.
we come back to him.
Yeah, let's come back to him. Looks like Elliot, you're up.
Sure. So jump right in. 40 minutes. Oh, it's that big green arrow at the bottom there, so I share. All right. So we will jump into a little bit of a presentation here. It's very much draft form with this. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a head or an update on where we are in the budget process. So the purpose of today's presentation is to kind of give you a little bit of an overview of what we submitted for the entire community vitality budget. Did not break this down into specific districts because it's still TBD. Lots of discussions about budget reductions for 2025, possibly for 2026 as well. So just kind of showing an overview of the entire department's budget. We'll highlight some proposals though supporting the district's priorities and the next steps for commission engagement and opportunities for you all to have some input. So the first process is the executive budget team. It's a group of city leaders, city manager's office, HR, comms, couple of floating directors, and they review the entire city's budget requests across every department, kind of discuss it and weigh its priorities and how it aligns with the SARE goals and our racial equity goals, and kind of help make decisions on which ones kind of get approved and forward. That then goes to city council for their review, and from there on, we will actually have a small touch point post the study session with city council for commissioners to weigh in on their support for the budget. And then we pass that along to city council and let them know how commissioners receive the budget process and the budget proposals. And in October will be the second reading, which would then be the actual passage of the commission budgets. So a little bit of our overview. Our operating budget's right around 12.8, our capital is around 12.1 for a total of about 25. Our operating budget is actually decreasing pretty significantly, and more significantly is our capital budget increase. The majority of this, as you'll see in future slides, probably see in your memo as well, is within CAGID for managing our assets, the parking garages. The big service areas that we're highlighting this year, as I mentioned, the asset management of it. We're also doing some TDM investments, trying to expand that a little bit. More public art as we use those CCRS dollars that are dedicated to public art, as well as tap into the 1% for CIP for public art as well. It's across all of them. Working on some streetscapes and vitality programs as well. One of the notable adjustments is a shift in parking enforcement structure. So all code enforcement is rolling up under planning and development services, which includes parking enforcement. Historically, that's been in our department, the parking enforcement side of things. Just through a reorganization and recognizing some efficiencies within the city, we're pulling all of those under the same. So code compliance, code enforcement, and parking enforcement, as well as some other limited commission officers will be under planning development services. So what that does for us, no change in service, just a change in reporting structure for those for that group of staff, but it does decrease our overall budget. And that's one of the reasons why you see such a decrease in our operating budget, is because we're losing an entire program. 26 through 31 capital improvement plans. Some of these will look familiar. They're a continuation from our 25 through 30 capital improvement program, but as you saw in the previous slide, a pretty big increase of the cost of capital. Our CMGC, that's the construction manager, general contractor program. Those are the bulk of our capital investments. So what that does is it just kind of streamlines the overall process of capital renovations within our garages, really bringing together the people who draw the plans and the people who implement the plans kind of in the same room to find some efficiencies. And we're looking at about a $25 million investment over the next 6 years across multiple garages. We're also looking at doing some changes within those garages as we're going through cleaning them up, making them better, and doing some innovations. We're also looking at ways to turn our garages into something beyond just parking structures. And that is mobility hub. So how do we use these garages to support bicycle infrastructure, alternative modes of transportation infrastructure, flexible loading zones, all of the likes? What are the best uses that we could use our parking garages for? So we're going to be doing some investments there. This year, we actually got a small grant from Dr. Cog. Thank you, from Dr. Cog, to do some research into the mobility hub. So this year, we're doing that research. Next year, planning on doing the implementation. 14th Street lot redevelopment, back on the docket again, hoping to find some utilization for that lot and what that actually looks like. So 27 is really going to be that planning, and 28 is really going to be hopefully the implementation reinvestment there. Public art projects, again, CCRS dollars dedicated to that. Boulder Junction, kind of what we've done here with our garages and the digital signs. We want to be able to do something similar to the Depot Square garage out of Boulder Junction. So pretty big hefty CIP budget of about $36 million over the course of 6 years. So some notable items for you all, as well as our other districts. So we're going to maintain the essential services that we provide in all of our districts. So no changes there. Even as we talked about budget reductions, we wanted to maintain those essential services. So things like on the Hill, you'll notice we do snow removal up there, which is a little bit unique to the commission, to that district, if you will. We're going to maintain that. We don't want to reduce that at all. Of course, our on-street program will still maintain the same, and then the management of the 14th Street lot will remain the same. Really going to be addressing a lot of our deferred maintenance. Majority of that is within our garages, where we're doing those capital investments. And we're looking to support those public spaces and the events, as well as safety within our districts, as we tap into more district vitality programming throughout. And then again, a little bit more of that expanded CIP, but minimal changes to our operational budget. So what's next? So that EDT review, these are the actual dates of when things will actually be happening. So the 22nd through the 31st, the city will be having those discussions, looking over all the budget proposals. We actually meet personally with EBT as a department between the 24th and the 27th, I believe it is. City Council then gets its first review August 29th. And then the commission recommendations will be coming back to you with a basically budget that council will be voting on to get your support on it. Caveat, some things can change between now and then, which we had a discussion about that last year. Final budget adoption is that October 23rd date, unless there is a third reading. But there will be continued opportunities for commission input throughout that budgetary process. Any questions? Comments?
Looks good.
It's 1,750,000, isn't it? That's what's earmarked right now for the 14th Street law, which is still a thing.
Yep.
But we lost the money for the, what do you call it, the mini streetscape, the streetscape.
So there's, I will, you go ahead.
So lost is maybe not the right word. It was allocated.
Allocated out of
those dollars, not.
Yes.
And so it's part of the project. So yeah, we're a part of that. Certainly, we're in conversations right now because of the city's budget circumstances.
Yeah.
The UGIT contribution was in addition to a general fund contribution to all of those projects together. There might be some adjustments to the general fund contributions to that project, which might translate into either what you just said.
Yeah.
That is spending UGIT dollars on median. Or a pause slash cancellation of that project entirely, and then those funds will then be released back into the UGIT fund that could be allocated to, that 14th Street lot redevelopment.
Hmm.
They have not been spent yet. The intent was to leverage huge dollars with general fund dollars to make, many things happen for the district. Given the current condition of the general fund, if those funds go away, then my current recommendation is that UGIT's funds, get reallocated as well.
Yeah.
To another district priority, not spent. Transportation project outside. district boundaries. Unless this, commission would like to recommend, otherwise, I think that, should prioritize. the people.
No, not necessarily. I just want to make sure that we always remember that we went out with the conversation, something that hopefully it'll come back, because again, that those funds were set aside specifically. for
So,
the-
and based on that, then that's why the recommendation has been, if there are no general fund dollars being invested, as a result of our current circumstances, either are gonna continue to hold the money and not spend it.
Yeah.
Or cancel the project altogether. If there's no other dollars, then UGIT, it's our belief, and based on the feedback we received, that UGIT should not be, funding those events.
And then the 1,075,000. If it isn't spent within that year, we can continue to move it down, right?
Right. or whatever.
Okay. My questions.
Help me out here. I'm trying to remember timing on, we're gonna have a meeting of multiple commissions coming up in October to discuss the larger idea of having there be a single downtown district or something. I'm probably using the wrong term. The DDA. The DDS, yeah. How does that timing factor into timing that is presented here, this budget? Does it take that into account? This is just completely separate from that. Help me search for that.
Sure, so, the conversation with the district analysis work that recommends the exploration of the downtown development authority would be something we're pursuing for a 2026 ballot initiative that would then start generating revenue in 2027. Of course, the DDA is based on tax income financing, so the delta between anticipated property and sales taxes and new increasing in sales taxes associated with the development that's happening. It's generating increased property values. And so that delta gets bigger over time. So we can certainly anticipate, if that is approved by voters, there would be a budget in 2027. The very small DDAs take time to build up the amount of resources to actually have the big capital it shows. So we will be learning more over the next year through our analysis with Puma. We're under vetted onto their contract, and so they are starting work next week on this financial analysis, identifying the boundaries of the proposed DPA, getting us all set up for a conversation with council in the spring of next year for their consideration of the ballot initiative. So that certainly not anything anticipated in the 2026 budget as far as all of that work goes, but that will be coming. Thank you for the reminder. Appreciate it.
So just under special district updates, the first bullet point says department plans to begin the construction of the medians in the coming weeks. So that is.
Yep. We are in real time, seeing a possible clawback of those general fund dollars to help shore up this year's budget.
Okay.
The project is nearly full design and ready to go to construction. We have contractors that are on, that we have on contract. This is construction season, but again, it's been my stance that UGIT should not be paying for those medians.
So it's happening, we're just
It might not,
setting who's paying for it.
right, and
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
So the project might be paused or canceled.
Okay.
Even though, yeah, it is shovel ready.
Yeah.
But if the general fund dollars are not going to be there to support it, then it's our opinion that they should. You know,
Does that plan exist similar visually? I've never seen what was proposed.
it's just a picking up and putting back in state of good repair. So there's no plan.
Okay, so it's not
a complete.
It's no grand.
Yeah.
Maintenance, it's maintenance.
That component, there was a desire to pursue, engagement around transit stop improvements and improve tree wells, and the huge dollars were gonna go to support, making sure that it wasn't just a immediate project. How do we have it be overall improvement in the space? But without that general fund component, it would be just largely limited to the media on Broadway, which is not my recommendation that they just move forward.
Any other questions for older staff on this portion of the agenda? We can move forward.
Great, well, I see Chris Haglund is now online, so we can back up to our flexible loading zone update if he's ready.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Chris Haglund here from Transportation Mobility. Apologize for being late. I was just another meeting running over, but when Ellie texted me, I was like ready to get onto the Zoom, but appreciate your time. I'm here to give you an update on our curbside management work. As you know from previous updates, our plan is to initiate some curbside management changes in the University Hill area in the third quarter, and that work is now started in July. We're doing this work because we've seen certainly increased demand for the curb in general, increased demand for short-term parking, loading and unloading, and then to better meet and have efficient curbside access for things like food and beverage delivery, TNCs, those are transportation network companies like Uber and Lyft, and then all the deliveries with Amazon, FedEx, UPS, and USPS. Also, in thinking about the hotel, when we initially did the pilot program, that hotel was a construction site. So now that we have the hotel there, looking at that area. And then also I see this work as also some initial foundations for future Sundance work. We do know that transportation demand management and curbside management in particular is going to be critical for Sundance. To kind of just review some of the tasks that we'll be initiating this month, and which we've already done, is reviewing existing conditions. And then we're working right now, I'm working with our transportation operations team and our principal traffic engineer to propose some options based on the results of our pilot program and curbside management, curbside demand. So I think what we'll like to do is say, here's our existing conditions, and then propose a few options for consideration, first to a smaller internal group before taking it out to a larger stakeholder engagement process. Just so you understand, the flexible loading zones that we're proposing are basically 24/7 loading zones with 15-minute limits. So we're looking at possibly adding a couple of those, or transitioning a traditional loading zone into a flexible loading zone in the area. I did have an extensive conversation with Chris Jones that there are some issues with the valet parking for the Moxie Hotel, which is causing some backup onto Broadway, which is very concerning. So I think this effort will also look at what we can do with the Moxie Hotel in terms of their valet practices and curbside management on that street. Once we have some proposal and options available, we'll start engagement with the commission, and Tel and Trent have volunteered to be kind of our first line liaisons on this commission to help with the project. But we'll do engagement with the commission, with property owners, businesses, and then also all the commercial users of these loading zones. And we anticipate that will be towards the end of July and beginning of August. We'll be doing that type of work. Other stakeholders include our Hill Merchant Association and the Moxie Hotel, as I mentioned. Once we receive feedback through that stakeholder engagement on our proposed or different options for consideration, we can do some additional informed level of engagement and direct engagement with businesses that are adjacent to proposed change locations. I think our hope is that by the end of August, we have finalized what curbside changes we'd like to make in the Uni Hill area, and then move into our communications plan in September. This would be communications of the actual proposed or the changes that are going to go through to businesses, property owners, commercial users. We are in the process right now of identifying points of contact for all of the potential users of loading zones. So your Ubers and Lyfts, your FedEx, UPS, and then your main food and beverage delivery. We've had some success already in finding the right people to talk to. One of the key things is looking at making these flexible loading zones designated pickup and drop off locations for TNCs like Uber and Lyft. We're also planning that in our downtown as well. Following the communications and everything is settled, we're looking at installation in late September, which would be really an installation of new signage. That is our plan so far. As I mentioned, what probably the next immediate actions will be is staff meeting with our commission liaisons and other key stakeholders to share the proposed changes, looking at different options, selecting an option to move forward with for some wider engagement with the business community. So that is my update. I am happy to answer any questions.
I have a question, Chris. It sounds like the timing for this will be implemented just after the Limelight opens. Is the Limelight considered a part of this plan? Is this going to be, will the Limelight be something that you future plan for, or is it a part of the current?
I think that area would be part of a future plan. Just based on the timing of the opening, I think, it's helpful to see how things are operating before you make changes. I think the Moxie provides a great example of, once it started operating, we realized, okay, now there's some issues that we got to deal with. So I would say that would be a later action.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions for Chris?
When you say the loading zones will be designated TNC spots, does that mean they have to park at them, or that they're just guided to park at them?
They would be required to use those as pickup and drop off locations. So if they had someone, they use geofencing technology. So they'd put a geofence around like the Uni Hill area. And so anybody being dropped off would be dropped off at those designated locations. And if someone hailed an Uber or a Lyft, they would be directed to go to those spots for pickup.
Got it.
Does that work? Or is that happening anywhere else in town?
It is happening all over the country. A lot of cities are doing it to organize it. I think Las Vegas was one of the first cities to do it so that people weren't being stopped, on the strip and letting out people and picking up people and causing huge traffic delays. It's very common around airports. But this is really a move that is happening all over the country. We have issues right now in Boulder when we transition to the downtown where people are getting dropped off on Broadway and the Pearl Street Mall and backing up traffic. We have people getting dropped off for the farmers market on Canyon and causing traffic delay. So in the downtown, we're likely to have probably at least 10, I'm thinking like probably 10 different places where Uber and Lyft would be designated to drop off, around the corners on side streets and avoid, stopping traffic on our more major roads.
Chris, is this the first place in Boulder that will be implementing this, or are there other places in Boulder currently doing this?
This would be the first location in Boulder to have those designated pickup and drop off locations.
Thank you for that. I do know that Red Rocks is doing this currently this season. They've got a whole new thing. If anyone's curious, let me know. It's kind of onerous. It can only be picked up at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to make sure that there's options. I mean, luckily Uni Hill isn't a large area, so I think we'll be good with maybe a couple locations. But I also think, one of the other issues that I'd like to hear from the commissioners once we start that engagement process is also, how can we do curbside demand management for special events? And thinking of that as kind of an auxiliary part of this project of not only kind of what is the permanent situation, but when we have special events, how can we create those locations? And if we, I think if we start thinking about that now, it will really help as we move into the Sundance planning, where we'll be very much looking at how do we control traffic. There's likely going to be street closures and looking at, whole streets that may be dedicated to Ubers, Lyft, and limousines.
Yeah.
One more. Yeah, I think this is the second or third year that RTD didn't go run on the Boulder Day, and those special events, I think getting the TNC lined up, because we used to walk out our, get on the bus there and back, and now people are like hiding scooters in their juniper trees, which they also shouldn't have in their front lawns. They're hiding scooters to get to there, because you can't get to the Boulder especially if you live in certain parts of town.
Mhm.
So I love the idea of this getting more organized.
Yeah, and Uber and Lyft are all on board for it. They want to be good partners. They want to organize. They don't want their drivers stopping midway on a street to let someone off. It really helps the drivers in their safety to have these designated locations where they pick up and drop off. And so they don't have a passenger say, just let me off here. They can say, no, I'm not allowed to. I'm going to go, 2 more blocks around the corner, and that's where you're going to be dropped off.
Yeah.
That works great. It works great.
Yeah.
Picking up Red Rocks, but it works well.
That's an example of the special events part of it. If you go during the day to Red Rocks, you can get dropped off all over the place, but once they start a show, you can only get dropped off or picked up or dropped off at 3 locations.
Yeah.
You can only be picked up at the very bottom one. So we experienced that, and it was fine going into it, but it was a surprise to many of us who had here.
Mhm.
And it doesn't show it on your map, but I'm guessing the Moxie would still be a drop-off, pickup, Uber location.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to have to look at that whole area. And, I wasn't aware of the issues with the valet parking. And I think it was last week I talked to Chris Jones and he was like, no, there are certainly some issues that we want to address with the valet parking. And, really that's a perfect time to look at what are some curbside demand management tactics we can use to remedy that situation and not have traffic backed up, into Broadway. So I would say, they're an ideal location to have a flexible loading zone and curbside management, and probably, a designated pickup and drop off locations for Uber and Lyft, because hotels are one of the largest users,
Yeah.
in terms of properties of Uber and Lyft.
Any other questions for Chris? Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that update.
You're quite welcome. I'll be in contact with our liaisons as soon as we have those options for that first consideration.
It's awesome.
Okay. Take care. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
All right, last but certainly not least, a conversation that we started with you all over several meetings, talking about how do we best utilize the 14th Street lot, help solve some access challenges on the hill. So Sam Bromberg, Christine have been looking at a pilot program, and so Christine's here to give an update on where we're at with that one.
Quick updates, it is imminent. We've been working on the comms. To let businesses know about the 35 permits that will be available in that parking lot. So, one email has gone out. We've been working with, the Hill Merchants Association to get, those mailing, or get that email list. We've also been hiring an ambassador to go in and talk to every single business to leave, So to leave communications behind and let it behind to let people know about the permits, there should be a second email that's going out. And on the 14th, so in a week. So on the 14th, which is Monday, we're gonna open up the sales and have that active. So you don't know in advance, it's gonna be first come, first served. And so we don't know currently what the demand is, but we will find out. So.
$75 per month, 2 per business.
Okay.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, so more on that soon, but it's exciting. We're trying something new. I think you should see new signage going up in that lot shortly to make sure that we don't until the vehicles that are supposed to be there actually work.
Would it work for the Moxie to buy some of those and let people self-park? So they'd have the option of not doing valet, they could pay, I don't know, valet is probably $20 a night, they pay $10 a night.
That's interesting. I don't know that we've looked into that, so we could certainly. I don't see any reason why we can't look into that. At this point, I would need to pull back on the 35 permits for the businesses if that's what they actually want, but perhaps there's extra space in that lot that.
Well, they would be their business.
You can give 2.
What?
They get
They should, too.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I didn't know it was 2 per business.
Yeah.
Well, they should, I mean, yeah, they could buy 2 and then, I don't know, employee can park there, but. I don't know, maybe having self-park option, I don't know about all the valet pumps, I've heard about them and
Well, the problem is they're not gonna have reserve signs for permits, right? So
I'm.
if
First
it's
come,
packed,
first served.
then
Yeah.
can't get in anything.
Right.
Any other questions for Christine? That's exciting.
Yeah.
And thank you for
Step
that.
forward, for sure.
It's been a work, took a little while to get there, so thank you very much.
Sam did all the work. I just got to take credit for it. So she's been doing the heavy lifting for a long time.
So let her know that we really appreciate that. All right. That brings us to matters for commissioners. You can't see bi-monthly check-in recap. So we talked about the stuff that has been happening on the commission. I don't think there's anything that came up that was out of the ordinary. I think it was basically just trying to stay on top of things like the public art project and sidewalks that had just been installed. And conversation around having the multi-commission meeting that's coming up. We should have all received, I believe, an invitation. We just made a poll around that. I want to make sure everyone was aware of that and that you have participated at this point. With the staff to let me know.
Did we come up with a conclusion of days or?
I don't know that information. Oh, I don't know if you're.
Not yet. I haven't
No.
received. Well,
Okay.
So if you have not participated, please do participate as soon as possible because Ellie is waiting on it.
Okay.
Everybody's, I think I've seen almost everybody's.
Okay, that'll be an important conversation to.
Except mine, probably.
Eileen received dates.
Oh, I'll send it after this call.
You're available.
I will. Yes.
I don't think there was anything else in that meeting that came up that we need to try to bring up here. So, something. And, in terms of that multi-commission meeting, do we need to try to put something on the agenda for September to prepare for that meeting? What would
We
you
will
suggest?
put a draft agenda
Mhm.
on the agenda
Yeah.
for review and comment for each of the commissions.
And
Yes, it will be facilitated.
sounds good. I wasn't sure if there's anything we wanted to do outside of just receiving the packet as preparation. Or if we should come more prepared than we normally would to our September meeting in advance of October. So,
We will let you know.
okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Is there anything else that anyone has that they would want to bring up for the good of the order here, mission? All right.
I might take advantage of that.
Yes, Chris, please.
The staff side, just, you got a preview of where we're headed with our draft budget. There will be more information coming. I want to make sure that there are no surprises in 2 months when you see the recommendations for probably some things for this year and things for next year. Nothing to share right now because we are still very much in draft form, but wanted to remind you all, our top priority, as Elliot pointed to, is the maintaining of essential services on the Hill to make sure that we're keeping people safe and meeting our district obligations when it comes to managing the district fund assets. Beyond that, other things that we do currently fund on the Hill are things like the pay for a third of the ambassador program. And that's funded by the general fund, not the district fund. Some other things that we do is the maintenance of the on-street parking pay stations and the collection of coins from those stations. We also paid for eco passes for all the employees of the district. While those are nice to do's and important to the overall business ecosystem, and especially considering some of the access challenges on the Hill, they're not probably currently in our essential services when it comes to some of the first, the limited amount of revenue that the district itself brings in, and the things that we need to do in support of district assets. So again, I don't know for sure what we're going to be seeing the final budget when it comes to general fund supported initiatives on the Hill. But just want to make sure that you all are thinking about those things as we prepare materials, and we'll share more detail with you for our September meeting in advance of city council's budget approval.
I appreciate that, hands up. I hear you loud and clear. So a lot of stations. Anything else before we get to just regular scheduled stuff? Okay. I'm gonna talk about our next meeting then. So our next bi-monthly check-in meeting is Tuesday, August 12th. Yeah, I think we get 10. And our next commission meeting is Tuesday, September 2nd. I'm gonna bring up that that's the day after Labor Day. Just so everyone pay attention to that. If you are gonna be out of town or something like that, you can't attend virtually, please pay attention to that. If we don't have a forum, then we're gonna need to figure out something else, because that's gonna be important.
Got it.
If you are planning to travel or something like that, give a heads up earlier than that.
Okay.
All right, anything else? Do we go to the order before we get out of here in record time?
I have one
Okay, try.
question.
Oh, geez.
You guys done that? Paul. Ambassador Paul. So this is a great question.
I don't have any, you know, in detail updates, but, I do know that it's expected to wholly recover, but not sure on return to work. But thanks for asking, and certainly, think the team up, their update. on
Yes.
this.
That's all.
That was a good one.
So we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, Dave.
Bye, guys.